Attention, Blue and Silver Nation. Tomorrow is not just another game, it's a day of war. It's the moment when the lion will unleash its roar and prove to everyone that on the field there's grit, heart, and courage. We know it won't be easy, but every tough battle is the one that defines true champions. And I want you, the fans, to feel this energy with me, because tomorrow the roar will echo across the league. So join in, smash that like button, and let's show that our fan base is just as fierce as our team. We ride together because tomorrow is ours. Go Lions! The Detroit Lions find themselves in a moment that feels like the calm before a storm. Just days away from a prime-time showdown against the Baltimore Ravens, the narrative around this team has shifted dramatically. For once, it's not about a catastrophic injury report or a derailing setback. It's about survival, resilience, and maybe even opportunity. And if you're a Lions fan who has lived through decades of heartbreak, this is the kind of storyline you lean in to hear, because right now, the Lions may have just dodged a bullet. The headline begins with Marcus Davenport. Earlier in the week, concern spread quickly. Was this going to be another lost season for a key acquisition? Davenport has already dealt with ankle and shoulder issues, and now a chest injury appeared on the report. For many fans, that spelled disaster. Another edge rusher down, another year where Aiden Hutchinson would be left isolated, facing double teams while Detroit scrambled to patch holes. But here's the twist. Davenport has not been placed on injured reserve. That single piece of news changes everything. It means this is not season-ending. It's not even several weeks guaranteed. In fact, the expectation is simply that he won't play on Monday night. That's not ideal, but compared to the alternative, it's massive relief. A bullet dodged. Now, don't mistake this for good news. Davenport is still hurt, and the Lions remain dangerously thin at edge. It's already clear that Al-Quadin Muhammad will be called upon to step up, and he'll get a huge chance to prove himself under the Monday night lights. But this situation also exposes Detroit's depth problem. If Muhammad goes down or underperforms, the team could be staring at Julian Okwara, or rotational shuffling that doesn't inspire confidence. This is where the whispers of a potential trade come into play. Brad Holmes has shown he's not afraid to get aggressive, and the question now is whether Detroit should make a move for another pass rusher before the deadline. Fans are already debating it. Do you roll with what you have, or do you take the shot to push this team deeper into contention? While the edge dilemma simmers, there's also genuine optimism. Reinforcements are on the way. Rookie offensive lineman Miles Frazier is close to making his debut. Joshua Pascal is eligible to return in Week 7, and his presence on the defensive line would be a major lift. Aleem McNeil is practically ready now. He could be back as soon as Monday, and insiders have suggested that if absolutely necessary, he'd suit up right away. Malcolm Rodriguez is in the same boat, nearing eligibility to return, and while tight end Shane Zylstra's recovery is further off, the overall trend is positive. This is the part of the season where attrition usually crushes a roster, but for Detroit, it's starting to feel like the cavalry is arriving.
And here's where it gets even more intriguing. Containing Lamar Jackson, that is the single key to this game. And it's where new defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard's fingerprints are starting to show. For years, Detroit fans have watched mobile quarterbacks tear them apart, drive after drive extended by scrambles, third downs converted by legs instead of arms. But that script has changed. Shepard has already schemed effectively against Caleb Williams and Jordan Love, keeping their mobility in check, and that gives real hope heading into Baltimore. The goal isn't sacks, though they'd obviously help. The goal is containment. Keep Lamar in the pocket. Force him to throw. Make him beat you with his arm. Do not let him rip off 20-yard runs on third down. If Detroit can execute that, suddenly the task doesn't feel impossible. Of course, the national outlook is brutal. Expert after expert has picked the Ravens to win. From The Athletic to NFL.com to Sporting News, nearly every analyst is siding with Baltimore. The lone dissent comes from CBS Sports HQ, where a few voices are daring to predict an upset in Detroit's favor. The odds are stacked, and most of the football world sees this as a mismatch. But isn't that exactly the kind of stage where the Lions have made their mark in the past year? Nobody thought they'd topple Kansas City on opening night either, and yet they walked out with the win. Even John Harbaugh has tipped his hat to Detroit, noting the continuity of their system and the dangerous balance of their offense. He pointed out what every fan has noticed in the first 2 weeks, the way Jared Goff and Ben Johnson's scheme attacked the middle of the field with precision. Crossing routes, high-low combinations, deep play-action strikes, this offense has evolved into a unit that can dictate tempo and punish defenses for every mistake. It wasn't sharp in Week 1, but by Week 2, it looked like a machine. And when it's clicking, Goff looks every bit like the field general who can carve up secondaries. So, where does this leave the Lions? In one of the most fascinating positions they've been in for years. On the brink of a statement game. Short-handed, yet strangely bolstered by good news. Overlooked, yet holding a chance to shock the football world again. If they take down the Ravens, the road ahead opens in a big way. The Browns, the Bengals, the Buccaneers at Ford Field, suddenly, those look winnable. Even divisional matchups against Minnesota and Chicago no longer carry the weight they once did, with Justin Jefferson struggling and the Bears spiraling. The Detroit Lions are sitting in a precarious balance between risk and opportunity, and Monday night could be the tipping point. The Davenport injury looms, the reinforcements bring hope, and the national disrespect sets the stage. This isn't just another regular season game, it's a measuring stick for everything this franchise claims to be building. And the real question now turns to you, the fans. Should the Lions gamble on a trade for a pass rusher to push this roster over the top, or should they trust the guys they already have to rise to the moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation isn't just about Monday night, it's about the future of the entire season. Let's push this story further, because what's brewing in Detroit isn't just about one game or one injury update. It's about a franchise that feels like it's standing at the edge of something bigger. When you zoom out and look at where the Lions are positioned right now, it almost feels surreal. For decades, this team has been the punchline, the underdog nobody truly feared, but suddenly there's a different tone. Suddenly, when national media talks about the Lions, it's not with pity, it's with caution. And that's why this Monday night matchup with the Ravens carries a weight that goes far beyond the standings. Think about it. You've got a Detroit team that's been reshaping its identity under Dan Campbell, with grit, resilience, and that never-back-down attitude becoming part of its DNA. But every rising team eventually reaches a point where the question gets asked, are they for real, or are they just a feel-good story waiting to collapse under pressure? The Ravens represent that test. Lamar Jackson, one of the league's most dangerous playmakers, leads a defense-heavy team that thrives on bullying opponents. It's a franchise that's used to big stages, used to winning, and used to proving people wrong. And now the Lions step into that spotlight. The fascinating part is how the Lions' preparation has changed. Under previous coordinators, you could almost predict the meltdown against mobile quarterbacks. Scrambles on third and long, busted coverages when plays broke down, defensive linemen over-pursuing while quarterbacks slipped through the cracks. It was painful, and it was predictable. But Kelvin Shepard has injected a new discipline into this defense. Against Caleb Williams and Jordan Love, we saw structure, accountability, and smart adjustments. That's why this game has so many fans curious. Can Detroit actually neutralize Lamar in ways we haven't seen them do to mobile stars in the past? If they can, the Lions don't just have a chance, they have a blueprint to beat elite quarterbacks for years to come. Now, let's talk about depth again, because this is where the entire season hangs in the balance. Marcus Davenport's health is the flashing red light. Not long ago, the thought of him missing significant time might have felt like the end of the line, but the fact that he's not on IR means hope isn't gone. Still, you can't ignore reality. His injury history is stacking up, and the Lions can't lean on wishful thinking. That's why Brad Holmes and the front office face a defining decision. Do you stand pat, or do you make the bold move? We've heard the names in the past, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, even whispers about Myles Garrett, but the truth is, elite pass rushers rarely move mid-season. That said, the Lions don't need a superstar, they need stability. Someone to rotate with Hutchinson, to keep pressure alive even if Davenport can't stay on the field. The timing couldn't be more critical. And here's the kicker. Imagine Detroit pulls off the upset against Baltimore. Suddenly, momentum swings hard in their favor. The national media won't just ignore them anymore. They'll have no choice but to respect them. And then you look at the schedule. Cleveland and Cincinnati are both beatable teams right now. Tampa Bay at Ford Field? That's a winnable home game. Minnesota looks shaky, Chicago looks lost, and suddenly the Lions could be staring at a midseason surge that sets them up for a legitimate playoff push. That's why this conversation about trades and reinforcements matters. It's not just about patching holes, it's about capitalizing on a rare moment where the door to the NFC is wide open. On offense, Jared Goff is the steady hand guiding this ship. His mastery of the middle of the field has been nothing short of surgical. Those crossing routes, the high-low combinations, the ability to stretch defenses horizontally and vertically at the same time, it's turning Detroit into a nightmare to defend. When the play-action game is rolling, Goff looks like a quarterback in complete control, and with Ben Johnson dialing up the calls, there's a confidence in this offense we haven't seen in decades. Yes, there are still hiccups, like the struggles on the offensive line with young players like Giovanni Mahogany finding their footing, but when this group clicks, it looks like a top 5 offense in the league. That's not hype, it's execution. But even with all this optimism, let's not sugarcoat the stakes. If the Lions lose to the Ravens and look overmatched, the critics will be back in full force. Same old Lions, they'll say. The national narrative will turn on a dime. That's the razor-thin line this franchise is walking right now, which is why every detail, every injury report, every coaching adjustment, every roster move feels magnified. Because the Lions are no longer playing just for wins and losses. They're playing for respect, for legitimacy, for proof that what Campbell and Holmes have been building is real. So here we are. The countdown to Monday night is ticking, the injuries are in the spotlight, and the national stage is set. The Detroit Lions have been underestimated before, and they've answered before. But now it's about more than proving people wrong. It's about proving themselves right. And I want to throw this directly to you, the fans. If you were in Brad Holmes' shoes, would you pull the trigger on a trade for a pass rusher to shore up the depth behind Hutchinson? Or would you gamble on Davenport getting healthy and trust guys like Al-Quadin Muhammad to carry the load? This is the kind of moment where your voice matters, because it's not just about one game, it's about the future of this team, this season, and maybe even this era of Lions football. Drop your answers in the comments, because this is a conversation no Detroit fan should sit out. And here's the thing, what makes this moment so gripping for Lions fans is not just the injuries, the strategy, or even the matchup itself. It's the feeling that the franchise is standing at a crossroads. For years, Detroit has been stuck in the cycle of almost and not quite. But this year feels different, doesn't it? There's a toughness to this roster, a belief that wasn't there before, and now we're watching to see if that belief can transform into something tangible. That's why Marcus Davenport's situation isn't just another injury story. It's symbolic of what the Lions are facing as a whole. They've been handed adversity, but not defeat. They've been hit with setbacks, but not knockouts. And now it comes down to how they respond. Do they lean on the next man-up mentality and trust players like Al-Quadin Muhammad to seize the moment? Do they push the front office to make a bold move that could alter the season's trajectory? Or do they do both, hold strong with what they have while quietly preparing for a game-changing addition? The Baltimore game will tell us so much, not just about the Lions' ability to contain Lamar Jackson,